Hello and welcome to Superstitious Squirrel. I'm Squirrel, and this week is special. I got a request to do an episode on an Arabic superstition that turns out to be kind of universal. So I was excited. It is really cool to see the universal superstitions at work. So the superstition is that if a bird flies in front of you from left to right, it is a good omen. And if it flies in front of you from right to left, it's a bad omen. So all I could find was the superstition itself and not anything on the origins of the superstition, because I like to know why these superstitions exist, what spurred them on, what led to our belief or people's belief in these really strange things. And I say strange, but I have some superstitions that I'm pretty fanatical about, so I'm not knocking anybody. But I know they're irrational, but it doesn't matter because my brain thinks, oh no, 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 no. I've got to do what I've got to do. And you all know what I'm talking about. So, as I was saying, all I could find was just the superstition itself, not the origin. So, I'm going to take you down a little bit of a rabbit hole with me to see how I do the research and what it takes to find the information I need to find. So, I had to do some research on some logic, and y'all know me. That was it took some doing. So the very first thing I did was I researched birds. Period, just birds. And it was really, really interesting to see how many superstitions on birds there are out there. It is phenomenal and it is universal. So, birds have a starring role in superstitions concerning life, death, and luck in general, whether it be good or bad. Early man believed that birds were messengers or even representatives of the gods. So that's a very, very primitive early belief. It predates writing. So and it comes into writing as retelling of lore or retelling, capturing the stories that somebody's heard as lore. But why? Why would birds bother to warn us mere mortals? What interest would they have in humans aside from target practice, right? So, in the Mediterranean and Northern European cultures, birds are seen not only as messengers of gods, but birds have been seen as the souls of our loved ones. That's why they would take the time to tell us, whether somebody's going to die, whether there's going to be a birth, whether there's going to be good luck, bad luck, all of that good stuff. Um, Bird wise, species wise, it's very regional. It changes from region to region, bird to bird. Like in some places, an owl could be extremely good luck, and in another place, it would be, oh, hell, I heard an owl, somebody's gonna die type of thing. So that's extremely regional. But birds as a whole are seen as souls or messengers, a divine intervention between you and God, the ability to see. So, as far as bird lore, and this is really, really interesting, the first time that we've seen it in writing, the ancient Romans observed the flight paths of birds to help them make decisions about their futures. They called it auspicy. It's a fancy way of saying divining the future using birds. Um, it also has the word augury. There would be a specific augur that would face the east and see which way birds were flying in, and not just as general like telling the future, but to see how something was going to go, whether it was worth doing or not. So your augur would face the east and see which way the birds were going. So the birds flying to the right meant that things were going to go well, and the birds flying to the left encouraged caution. Now, over time, east was left out because people just generally didn't know what direction east was off the top of their heads unless the sun was coming up, right? So it lost the eastedness of it. That's a squirrel word. And it lost, it segued from caution into bad luck. This was in ancient Roman times. Now, predating that, the Greeks had a word for divining the future with birds that was called ornithomancy. Ornithomancy. So, both instances, we have divination with the doings of birds. Um, Pretty wild, huh? So we've got that part. We've got the birds covered. But what about the left to right and the right to left? So I started looking up etymology, the origins of words, and I went down a rabbit hole that lasted 4 hours. I was super, super happy there, but I am not going to torture you with my rabbit hole. I'm just going to give you the basics. So, in about 1200 AD, we're in AD, right? Not BC. Yeah, 1200. Lift was first seen, left, spelled Lyft, was first seen in Middle Europe as meaning weak. It referred to the weaker side, as opposed to the predominant strong right hand. Lift was weak. Easy enough. Then in Latin, predating that, the word sinister originally meant left, but it took an evil or unlucky turn right around the classical Latin era. So the double meaning, left and sinister, still exists in European derivatives of Latin and in the English word sinister. So it was spelled different in the original Latin, but the meaning just shifted over time as meanings do or stories do. So that's good for the European side of things, or the Western world. But what about the rest of the world, right? So as far as it being an Arabic superstition, I got this. So the unfavorable associations and connotations of the use of the left hand among cultures do vary. In some areas, in order to preserve cleanliness where sanitation was an issue, the right hand, dominant hand of most individuals, was used for eating, handling food, and social interactions. The left hand would be used for personal hygiene, specifically for going to the restroom, and cleaning afterward. So through these practices, the left hand became known as the unclean hand. Currently, amongst Muslims and in some societies, including Nepal and India, it is still customary to use the left hand for cleaning oneself and the right hand for eating. Just they keep them separate. In fact, there are some countries that if you go to and you reach out with your left hand or you give money with your left hand, it is considered a huge taboo. So here again, we have almost a universal, culturally known left hand bad, right hand good. So the last thing that I want to point out is handedness and why lefties are seen as the weaker or the evil side. As you know, people like commonalities. People like things being the same. Somebody different is somebody not to be trusted. And that is in a lot of cultures. In fact, I think that's just human nature, which is sad, but it's true. And I know up until 1970, left-handed people were disciplined, and I mean disciplined, not to be left-handed. They had to learn how to use the right hand. It wasn't until the 1970s that studies were done that show that changing handedness is detrimental to mental health, to physical development, mental development, to all kinds of things. So up until that time, left-handed people were quite the rarity. And even today, even with the breakthrough that was made in the 70s, studies done in 2020 show that only 10 to 11% of people worldwide are left-handed. That's it. That is such like that makes 89 to 90% of the world population being right-handed. I think left-handedness is rising in numbers, but it is still extremely low. In countries like Japan and China, it wasn't until extremely recently that left-handedness was not disciplined, and I'm not even sure if that's being changed in China or not. There were a lot of articles on no left-handed people in China. So there's just that whole this is different, this is bad thing. So us lefties still get accused of being sinister, still get accused of being wrong because right is right, right? So it just really makes sense that over time, going from left to right meant going into something good, and right to left meant going into something bad. So mainly it's just based on logic and a lot of research. I hope I put it all together for you well. Um, there was absolutely nothing anywhere that I could find that would say what to do, if you saw something like this. If this is a superstition, or if this is a belief, let me call it that you hold and you see this happening, you see a bird flying from right to left, um exercise caution. It doesn't say that everything's going to really go bad. It was just you just need to take things carefully. You need to consider things through before you do them. Always a good rule of thumb anyway, right? Um, but if you are just dead set on this is bad luck, all I can suggest, and this is squirrel logic. I have to explain it to you just a tiny bit. I never could get left and right straight, because when you turn around in the other direction, left is on the other side and right is on the other side. Like left is now right, right is now left. It's all confusing. It doesn't make any damn sense. And then too, when uh when I was in the I never had a sense of direction. Like when I was in the Marine Corps, I had to take a land navigation test to get to a promotion. And I think I failed that test like 4, maybe 6 times. I just could not pass this test. I just kept getting it all backward. Finally, I had this really smart staff sergeant. So he was like, Kennedy, what's the problem? Why are you getting this all backward? Tell me where the directions are. And I had them all backward. I had south as up. And he just looked at me like, are you insane? He said, Kennedy, what the hell makes you think south is up? Kennedy was my maiden name, by the way. And I was like, well, birds fly south and you don't ever see them flying down. You see them up. And heat rises and the south is hot. And when he finished laughing, he said it was logical, but it wasn't true. And then he proceeded to teach me how to read a map with north up, east to the right. Wait. Wow, yeah, east to the right. Oh, I still don't get it. Nowadays, if I get lost, I just go to the closest lost and found and say I'm lost. You think I'm kidding? I'm not. I will go to the lost and found. Those of you who have directional problems like me, it works. Somebody will help you. So, what I was getting to, if it absolutely disturbs you, a bird flying from right to left, turn around. It'll all be in the opposite direction and everything will be all better, I swear. Still exercise caution because that's just a good rule of thumb for everything. And I hope this made sense. It was a lot of squirrel logic, I know, but that's my story and I'm sticking to it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'll see you next time. Bye.